Hi YouTube, Darth here. After a suggestion on Twitter from a viewer, I wanted to make a quick video about the recoil changes from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield Hardline and what you can expect. If you don't know already, the amount of recoil in Battlefield Hardline is substantially increased from its relatively tame values in Battlefield 4. First, I'm going to show you what an automatic assault rifle looks like in Battlefield 4. This is the M416, a relatively stable platform at mid-range that has a predictable upwards recoil pattern. Even completely holding on the hose, the pattern is tight and short. Let's look at an assault rifle from Battlefield Hardline. This is the M16A3. Yes, the M16A3 is back, but it's definitely not your same old M16, as you'll see that the hipfire spread is pretty steep already. Now when I aim down sights at close range, the spray takes the weapon upwards pretty quickly. So far the difference isn't quite as noticeable as it is at longer ranges. So let's look at the M416 at a slightly longer range. Uncontrolled, the weapon slides upwards at range pretty quickly, but with a little control, the M416 assault rifle is still pretty manageable even at a distance. If I control my fire and my recoil by countering the weapon's recoil and managing my burst, the spread at a distance is still very tight. With a single shot, the M416 is a laser. Compare this to Battlefield Hardline, where at a distance the vertical recoil of the M16A3 carries it beyond even my target building. If you attempt to control the weapon, this results in a comparatively much wider spread and some difficult to counter recoil. Now these weapons are not exact copies of each other, but do fill similar roles in both games. Keep in mind that all these weapon stats are vastly different than one another, but I do want to highlight the difference between both games with these tests. So let's look at one other weapon from Battlefield Hardline, the Colt Commando RO933. In contrast to the M16A3, this is a carbine built for short-range encounters. As you can see from this medium-range test, the gun goes completely berserk and into the sky when it's not controlled. Even if I switch to single-shot mode, the minimum spread on weapons in Battlefield Hardline is noticeably larger than in Battlefield 4. So the increase to the weapon's recoil stats is not the only thing you have to compensate for in Battlefield Hardline. If you play for any length of time in the beta, you'll notice that visual recoil is back. What is visual recoil? It's the animation of your sight in tandem with the shaking of the gun. In Battlefield 4, this was removed from most weapon sights in the fall patch. Well, like it or not, it's back in Battlefield Hardline. It's not quite as egregious as it was in Battlefield 4, but you'll definitely take notice when you're trying to take a shot in Battlefield Hardline. With the laser being nearly invisible in most scopes, there's no workaround this time to get away from visual recoil. There's one last new thing for recoil in Battlefield Hardline. That is, when you get hit, your soldier visibly reacts to the shot. This, more than anything, is going to play havoc on your aim. My recommendation to counter this particular bit of visual recoil would be to shoot first and ask questions later when you're in a head-to-head fight. So the difficulty in successfully landing shots in Battlefield Hardline has definitely gone significantly upwards, but there are some familiar techniques that you can use to get better shots. First, stop moving when you're aiming down sights. It'll keep your spread to a minimum. Second, only use hip fire in extreme close quarters situations. Third, fire in short controlled bursts. This is really going to be crucial when firing weapons with high vertical recoil and first shot recoil multipliers. And finally, choose attachments that are appropriate to your playstyle. If you find that you move and shoot a lot and are in close quarters, you're going to want attachments that benefit hipfire. If you're the kind of combatant that will stop and take time to burst accurately, consider heavy barrels and angled grips. If you want to get in early practice without playing Battlefield Hardline, I'd recommend trying out the FAMAS or AEK-971 in Battlefield 4. Both of these weapons are challenging for recoil practice. That's it for this primer video on recoil in Battlefield Hardline. If there are other topics you'd like to hear about for Battlefield Hardline, I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. If you're new around here, check out my channel and please consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, YouTube.